Call us to the order. We'll pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mike Winter,
Here.
Dale Strong,
Here.
Mark Nobby,
Here.
Mark Sloan,
Here.
Russ Seidel,
Here.
Shirley Wise,
Here.
Jim Wolf.
Here. All here and accounted for. Has everybody had a second to review the minutes from the previous meeting? Are there any additions or corrections?
I got a correction, well, not a comment. On page 2, under committee appointments, Councilman Shirley Wise, Chairman of the Wage and Salary Commission, members, they got 3 members. Unless you plan to have a public meeting, every time we meet, there's going to be 3 on that. So I will withdraw.
We've had 4 before. We have to advertise anyways.
We have to advertise in.
Well,
we're
if we're going to do that,
We
that's
have-
fine.
We
Okay,
have
that's,
to
we have
advertise
to.
for them.
But that was never brought up that we were going to do that, so
That's
that's
just,
fine, okay.
I
It
think
was
that
brought
was
up-
something
It was brought up a
we,
few meetings ago.
Chris made us aware of at the beginning of the year.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other corrections or additions?
I'll move to approve the minutes selected.
We have a motion to approve the minutes in the previous meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries 7-0. Does anybody have any mail that they need to share? If not, our county attorney, Mr. Appel.
I don't have anything that needs to be addressed right now unless someone has a specific question for me.
Does anyone have anything for our attorney? Okay. Committee reports. Councilman Strong, did you want to make a brief statement on the budget finance?
I'm still working, Mike. Now,
Okay.
we should have met by now. I'm still working. I've had a little bit of difficulty getting the information I need, and I think eventually we're going to work through this, and between now and the next meeting, we 3 should get together probably once, maybe twice before our next meeting, and hopefully finish that work.
Okay. In Councilman Strong's defense, he's one of the hardest working council members on this council. It's a lot of work to finalize what he's trying to do and put the things together. He's got to make sure all his I's are dotted and his T's are crossed and everything's in order before he presents it. And I know he wants to have the utmost confidence that what he's presenting is an accurate report, and so he's just trying to gather that information. So I appreciate his efforts in that. Councilman Weiss, anything to report?
Like Dale, I've been gathering the information together. I think there are a few components that we're still in need of before we can look at the entire picture. So, but I believe that we'll be scheduling that meeting one day next week, and then can make some recommendations specifically for the next meeting. I'm sorry, it's just a matter of the weather, and I was hoping to come in yesterday and get some data from the courthouse, but I came at the wrong time, so the door was locked. Sorry.
That's a problem.
It is. I'll just have to get myself used to the schedule.
You have to come during working hours.
That's right.
Thank you. Commissioner Representative, Mr. Frank Jackson, AKA the President.
You couldn't give me the president's job with gold plate. Commissioners today did, after the second presentation before us, we did approve, let me word it properly, we did overturn the objections of the APC, and we did approve for general business, the 40 to be zoned such. The sellers offered covenants and deed restrictions, which would guarantee no VOCs into the air or the water table. They also agreed that there would be nothing automotive, everything from a car lot to a body shop or anything that would contain chemicals. Given those were some of the concerns by some of the board members and others, as well as some of the residents in the area, we did approve that for general business. Any questions on that? The only other thing today, we had a rather short meeting. The other thing today, we got an update on EMS is trying to go to its own frequency and repeater that should be paid for by 911 monies, but at this point, they're not ready to make a commitment. They still have a few more things to line up before they're ready to come to us for approval for that. Any questions? Do you want to address the additional appropriation requests and stuff now, or?
Yeah, we might as well do that while you're up here.
Okay.
Frank has a question for you for the highway department. How's the building? Where's the status on the building down there?
It's moving well. So far we're within budget without any unanticipated over expenditures. I'm predicting when the weather breaks that they'll hurry up with the roof, and at this point I can't give you a possible date, but I'm going to guess probably, if the weather holds, probably 1st of June. That's just my opinion, but I can't really give any specifics, Russ, because I don't know.
Is there any vehicles being parked inside anything down there? Or is there anything down there? I haven't been down there, so.
The Everton Volunteer Fire Department has been allowing us during upcoming bad weather or cold times, we can park up to 3 in their building, unless, of course, they have a special event, in which case we'll move them. I think they can crowd 3 into the bay/work area of the existing building, not the old bay areas, but the existing garage area attached to the office area.
The current building.
Yes, so the
We're not
current,
talking
the current building. No, nothing's being stored in the new one. Is that what you wanted to know? Okay. Any other questions? We have, and it's a little bit of a technical thing that I'm not sure if I understand, but to actually receive the monies from Nextera for our legal services, commissioners had to approve them being received, which I think we did our last meeting. So what you have before you tonight is a contractual services. It gives a budget line. The amount is $40,000. And this is for economic development for payment for professional fees, i.e. recall, which will require your approval also. Also, let me skip forward one here real quick. Okay, we have 2 other things. One is Scholl & Sons. That is what is owed for the work on the cap of the jail. That is $29,421. There wasn't enough in jail cum because we spent the money for the jail controls, which I explained was a security issue, a safety issue. So we're requesting to transfer $20,000 out of cum cap into cum jail. The, if you have any questions on that, I'll go back to the 40,000.
Just one, Frank, real quick.
Yes, sir.
In your request to cover this bill for the repair work on the capstones over there, your request is 5,000 more than the bill. Is that 5,000, is that just, you want to put a little bit of money in there to
Yes, a little bit of cushion.
cover future things that come up?
Yes. At the beginning of the year, we had, I think, right around $100 less than 47,000 in there. But with other things that have been taken out of there, in addition to the 19 plus for the jail control issues, it ran us a little bit short. I would like to emphasize that the sheriff was able to cut the original request he made us, which we approved, which was 30,000 and some change, down to 19,000 by removing something from the contract. So he did save us $11,000 to $12,000 in that ballpark right there. But to answer your question, yes, that's why.
Okay, I'm sure something else will come up.
I'm sure, well, there are some things some of the things I presented to you when we did our tour of the buildings, there's some things there that need to be taken care of. The only thing that I would consider critical are some glass issues in the cell block areas. There are other things that need to be addressed, but whether you would call them critical or not is, I guess, according to each individual's opinion.
Is there a way of that glass, is there a way to, it's going to be an ongoing issue, I think, with the glass being broken. Is there something, I'm thinking there's probably not, but is there another solution?
Some of
A
the
different type of glass?
Some of the glass, not all the glass is being broken by the inmates. Some of it is, I don't know if it, and I'm not that technical, but I don't know if it was tempered right at the factory or what. But Mr. Gray did go to a different company and installed, he got a cut by buying 10 pieces at once. So he has put those in, and initially everything seems to be going well with those. I haven't talked to him honestly since the last meeting 2 weeks ago, so I don't have an update on that.
When we were taking a tour of the jail, and for those of the public that don't know what we're talking about, some of the glass and some of the holding areas, the cell blocks are broken from inmates hitting them, or when Joey took us around and said some of it was installed, when they put the screws in, it shattered it. Now, my question is if I'm a homeowner and I got a contractor who comes and installs something improperly, the contractor's gonna come back and fix it free of charge. Do we not do that? Do we not go back to the contractor and say, because tempered glass, if you hit it on the edge, it's gonna shatter. That's its weak point. If you hit it straight on, that's not so bad, but you nick the edge, it's gonna shatter. So them installing, when Joey said that, it made perfectly good sense to me that would be an issue. Are the contractors not qualified to be doing that? And B, are we going back to the contractors, making them make it right? Because any of us here would, if it was our own private property.
I can't answer your question, Mike, because I don't know the time frame there.
Yeah,
It all
it's
depends.
been a while.
It all depends on the time frame.
Right.
So, but I left myself a note, and I will talk to Mr. Gray about that, hopefully tomorrow, and maybe text you or email you an answer.
Thank you.
Okay?
Is it your intent to replace the glass with glass then?
Yes.
It's tempered glass, it's,
Had you given any consideration, I'm not trying to play commissioner here,
I don't take it that way.
had you given any consideration to replacing that glass with Lexan?
That's not something I'm considered, no. I suppose it could be a consideration. At one point, when I was sheriff, I saw a demonstration on different types of glass. Lexan is very expensive, probably more so than what we're talking about here. I can't say that for sure, but I know that it is a specialized glass and it's very expensive.
Yeah. Lexan will stop 30-06. A 1-inch thick Lexan will stop at 30-06, won't it, Jimmy?
I don't know, really don't.
I think it would. It's tough stuff.
I agree, I
Yeah.
agree. And that's what a lot of offices, businesses, whatever, that require high-end security, they do use some of that.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Do you guys do whatever you think's right over there?
I'll ask and see, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be cost prohibitive. But I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Anything else? The $40,000, that will be used to pay Mr. Hall. There is a little bit of a balance left there. That balance will be used to pay Umball. And the balance of that, a balance of Umball's bill will come from the Commissioner's contractual services. So hopefully we'll have that paid off and resolved.
Not just to, this is just a formality, this 40,000, we're not really paying it because we're getting paid that by NextEra,
If I understood the...
or there's legal services.
Yeah, right. If I understood correctly from Mrs. Whitaker, you deposit these monies into a particular fund, but you can't pay his bill out of that fund.
Okay.
You have to pay it out of another fund and then reimburse that fund from the fund you originally deposited the monies into. Welcome to government.
Okay. It's clear as mud.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the shell game.
Is what it is. Are there any other questions? I can't think of anything else the commissioners did today or recently that needs to be brought to your attention, but if I'm remiss, then remind me and I'll advise you what I can.
Commissioner, just out of curiosity, how are we doing on salt supply so far this year?
I think we're doing pretty good. I may be wrong, but if I remember right, what we purchased last year was 300 ton, and we really haven't had any really bad weather except for maybe the last 3 weeks or so. So I think we're doing pretty good.
I know the last time we bought salt, we really got gouged on price.
Right, it went from, in 2013 was $75 a ton, and our supplier wanted $149 a ton last year. So we found another supplier and got it for $127 a ton, which is still high, but there was roughly a $20, $22 a ton savings there.
Well, I hope we don't have to buy any more this winter. We
Well,
got more snow coming tomorrow all night, they say.
I thought Richard said that he bought it over the summer or whatever to cover the winter. He bought a lot more than what they needed, what they anticipated,
Right,
because the price was better.
right.
Wasn't good, it was better.
I know at one point there was a barge down on the river selling it for $110 a ton, which I kind of likened to the guy that opens his coat and says you want to buy a watch, but, you know. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We need to vote on this, don't we? Would somebody like to make a motion on the $20,000 for the transfer request from Cume Cap Building to Cume Building Jail?
I was,
Making a motion, or nobody's making a motion? There's
I
a
second
second.
the motion to
A
move
second.
the 20,000 from Cume Jail to Cume Cap, or Cume Cap to Cume Jail.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any more further discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of approving the transfer request for the commissioners, the amount of $20,000 for Cume Cap Development Building to Cume Building Jail, repairs to jail, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it, 1 nay. Motion carries 6-1 in favor. Okay. Commissioner for Contractual Services, in the amount of $40,000 in additional appropriation request from contractual services to budget line 1000-30970-000-068, which everybody knows what that is. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve the additional request for contractual services for $40,000.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion?
Is that Mark Nobby?
Mark, did you second it?
Yeah.
Yes, you did. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. 144s. Judge Paul Freed. You're up, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, as the president of the council would well know, I have had an employee leave, and so I'd like to replace her with recently former employee Megan Miller, who held the position for nearly, I think, 7 years prior to Ms. Winta. And I'm so happy to have her back because, as I said, with her experience level, which is extensive, she needs no training. She's mastered that job, and it's the exact same job that she had before, same chair, same desk, same tasks. So it doesn't get any better than that for court administration, someone you can bring in with no need of training. So that's what I'm asking is to approve the 144. There is an issue, I know Councilman Strong had brought it up about the rate of pay, and I was under the assumption, but maybe disavowed of that by the council, that we could bring her in because of her recent prior lengthy experience at 17,776, which was the appropriation for this year. And so that's what I'm asking that you do. That's what I'm asking. Hire Megan Miller at the current appropriation for that position, beginning tomorrow, if it would be approved.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion to approve the 144 for the secretary bookkeeper position. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'll just bring up one thing so that the council knows where you're at here. I did talk to Judge Freed this afternoon about this request, and I noticed on his 144 that the salary requested on the 144 does not match the prescribed salary on our approved starting salary ordinance. And I asked him why, and he explained that the person he was hiring used to work upstairs and quit and left, and now is coming back. So it's never been our practice to, if anyone quits and leaves, to come back and pick up where they left off. But be mindful that if that's what you want to do, you're going to have to do it for the next one that comes down the line, because you will set a precedent here. Because if you quit for any length of time and then you come back as a new employee. And our starting salary ordinance prescribes $16,747 for this position. Although we have appropriated in the judge's budget $17,747 for this position. But that was for an employee that had been here long enough to accumulate a couple of pay raises. So, this is a council's decision, but I just wanted to make you aware of what this situation is. And when someone comes in next time, and we don't know when, and say, well, you did it for one, you're going to have to do it for another, don't be confused, because right now is the time to address it and think about it if you want to.
Your Honor, when was the last time she was employed here? What
A little
was
over
the
a year,
last-
little over a year ago, I think. And, you know, Mr. President, I may be out of order here since you've already called it to a motion and second. but
Let's discuss
you
now.
Speak for you very well. There are some unique factors here, I think, Mr. Strong, that you could point to in the case of a future event like that are likely to be different and fairly substantially factually different. Number one, the very brief time that she was gone, relatively speaking. Number two, the long-term tenure of the employee prior to that, 7 years. Number three, she's not filling a similar position. She's filling the exact same position, the exact same position. Not a general description, secretarial, it's the exact same desk, exact same chair. So I think those are some unique factors that you could address that with in the future. If you had an instance where someone would challenge that, it is very unlikely that anyone else would meet that exact set of facts. The long tenure, the very short time gone, relatively speaking, and the fact that they were reoccupying the specific position, not a generalized description of general courthouse secretarial staff, but rather that very exact position that they held for 7 years. So I think it's defensible in that regard, but you can consult, you know, your county attorney on that issue. Those are unique factors.
I wouldn't say as strongly that if you do this once for a former employee, that it'd be setting a binding precedent. I mean, it would be a fact. Every situation would be fact sensitive. So I think that would be overboard to say that if you do this now, that you're bound to do that whenever a former employee comes back and applies for a job for the county. I mean, that you wouldn't be bound to. You can do whatever you want if there's a factual circumstance for each situation. It's not. This isn't going to set a precedent like a court decision that any time an employee who worked here before comes back gets to come in at the appropriate amount for the position.
There's two things here. I agree with Councilman Strong, and I agree with Judge Freed. And in places that I've worked before, there's always been a rule established, there's a guideline established for somebody who was a prior employee, and there's a set period of time between that, their end of their employment, if it was, you know, by their, you know, their terms, and when they come back, and sometimes it's a year, and they can pick up the same amount of vacation, the same amount of health, you know, sick days, and so forth and so on. I do think it's something that maybe we need to address for our wage and budget wage committee, that something needs to be set up. I agree with Judge Freed that because of the unique situation, the fact that she's come back to the exact same position, the exact same thing. Not to mention that he's not having to train this person.
Huge.
That's going to save the county
Huge.
money there, because she's going to be able to step right up and be productive. But I see both sides of the argument here, and I think that it's something as a council that we need to address. I agree with Attorney Appel that I don't believe we're setting a precedent because of the situation. And I agree with a lot of people here, with Judge Freed, that it's a unique situation that we're not going to probably encounter too many times. I'm not saying we won't, but there's not too many opportunities where someone's going to come back to the exact same description, chair, everything. So I would feel comfortable. I took a little pause when Councilman Strong said what he did, because I agree, but I think it's something we need to address. But I wouldn't feel that we were setting a precedent. I think that we need to do something, because if it was a good employee and sometimes the grass is green on the other side of the fence, and you get over there and you find out the grass really wasn't that green, and you miss, you know, where you were at, and you know the situation, you want to come back. And I don't think a person should necessarily be penalized for trying to better themselves, and the situation didn't work out the way that they were promised or told. So I think we need to address that. That's just my take.
Mr. President, you know, another issue there is, as you know, when I took over, we had a retirement at the court reporter spot, and then everybody moved up one spot. And so when I was first here, the second week, I think, I had the other hire, which was the part-time position. So she's been there 6 or 7 weeks now, and she's still in a training mode. Ms. Winter was doing a grand job of that. She's come along a long way in 6 or 7 weeks, but she's still in a training mode. in the position that has historically and makes sense administratively to train that part-time position is the position that I'm now asking you to fill. So I can't rightly hire someone off the street who also needs to be trained from scratch, because that one of the person's duties is to train the part-time person. So the person who's being trained can't also train another person. There's only so many new people that can be up there at once, and since I'm one of the new people too, I understand that. So it's a peculiar situation for me. It would really put me in a bind, and it's such a unique individual who was willing to come back, who can step right in, their first day back on the job, they're in a position to train the person who's still needy for training, although she's working out great. I don't mean to criticize the new employee. She's doing fantastic. She just hasn't been there very long. She still needs to be coached up. And the other thing is, when she was here before, Ms. Miller had already started cross-training at that time on the court reporter's position. So in a pinch, she's a good replacement for the court reporter, should the court reporter, Ms. Gibson, be on vacation or possibly have a long-term illness or something. This would be a disastrous situation if I had to hire someone who wasn't as skilled as Ms. Miller is for that position. Then I have Ms. Gibson trying to train whoever that person is, plus the other new employee. Then what if Ms. Gibson were to have a surgery or be off for a couple? I mean, it would literally be a disastrous situation. We'd be minus one person and two people who didn't have sufficient training. It could be a big problem. So I want to treat Ms. Miller right. I know for a fact from direct observation that she's a highly skilled person who's replacing a highly skilled person. And I wish, if this is to be an exception, then I'm asking you to make an exception.
Judge, I hope you understand I'm not picking a fight with you.
Oh, I know,
No,
sir. I know.
just-
Dale, we've known each other long enough. I know you're not doing that.
Who wants to pick a fight with a judge?
Not me, no way.
I'm old and fat. Anybody can work.
Well, Betty's sitting back there, we let Betty pick a judge.
Yeah.
But, you understand, from our perspective.
I absolutely
what,
do.
Here's what the starting salary ordinance says. You're asking basically for an exception to the rule on this. And believe me, I understand exactly what you're talking about. And I'm worried about what might happen in the future. If, I'm sure if something else comes up like this, we can find some way to work our way through it. But I wanted council to be aware that there is no verbiage whatsoever in the employee handbook about situations like that. We really have nothing in writing to give us guidance on what's proper and what's not in situations like this.
Well, I understand what you're saying and agree to some extent, but a couple of years ago when we were forced to make layoffs of some skilled positions here in the courthouse, I think that the whole council took that very seriously and were concerned that if there were an opportunity to get these people back for whatever reason, if an opening came up, we wanted to recognize the long-term skills of the employees that we had to lay off, and in fact did make provision, I believe in writing, we'd have to go back for the specifics, but did make provision that if we were fortunate to get a person to come back, that we could do it at the same level of salary that when they left. So I think, like you say, each of these may need a specific, addressing at the time, but I believe that we want to recognize the skills that the people here in the courthouse have. And we've said many times that's why the committee has been working on trying to understand the unique skills that it takes to run not just the courthouse, but the highway department, the sheriff's department, 911, et cetera. So I think, we've kind of gone down that way once or twice, because I know of at least one, perhaps two people that have come back.
Well, you remember correctly, because we did, when we laid people off, we did make the promise that as opportunities arise for them to come back to work, they would come back as, recalled from layoff at their current salaries and all that. And I know that one did come back and went to the clerk's office, for sure. But,
But again, I understand the point you're making, and
Yeah.
it's,
I don't know, I don't want to lay any more work on you, Shirley, or your committee, but I don't know if this is something your wage committee would want to take a look at.
I don't think it's something that we've considered yet, but
It's something
we'll add
that
it
needs
to
to be
the
addressed
list
by
of
the wage
things that,
committee.
Yeah.
certainly you have to take a look at.
It needs to be addressed.
We just really don't have a written guideline to go by.
I understand.
Judge.
You're somewhat, you get that little bit with the layoff issue some years ago, but mostly you're blazing a new trail here. I understand precedent, Dale, you know, that's what I do for a living upstairs, so I get a little queasy if you have to make a decision which there isn't black letter law, and I get that, I get that.
I know.
You hold yourself out to criticism when you do that, I understand.
Well,
That's why we get paid the big bucks.
I think it, Dale, in this case would be beneficial to do it.
yeah,
I've been on council
Yeah.
7 years, we haven't run into it before,
Yeah.
so we probably won't run into it again for another 7 years.
I'm not gonna argue, I'm not gonna make an argument with you on that, Jim, because I understand perfectly the advantages to the judge's operation up there, but letting this person come back and rewarding them for the experience that they have. But what I'm basically worried about is what might happen down the road. So, you know, I'm not gonna, Judge, I'm not gonna fight you on this. I just wanted them to be aware of
Well, it's a good point, Dale. I think you're doing a good job, responsible thing to think ahead. That's what you guys are supposed to do, so I don't have any criticism to go back at you with either, so I appreciate your comments, I understand.
We have a motion on the floor to approve it.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want to, is there further discussion?
No, I was just gonna call for the question.
Okay,
I think we've had plenty of discussion.
I agree. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries 7-0.
Had one other matter there I just wanted to address with you about, some of you will recall, and I wasn't part of that at all, but the outgoing judge, Judge Ertl, had sold his office suite, which is his own personal property. There'd never been any office furniture purchased when they built the new part of the courthouse. He just brought some stuff out of storage he had, and I think y'all got a good deal on that. That's really heavy-duty, solid oak stuff, and it'll be here for 100 years after I'm dead and gone. Some judge in the future will be sitting at that desk, I think, so you've done a good thing. But the one bit of that furniture that's somewhat needed in there that he did want to take with him, and I don't know why, maybe his family heirloom or something, I'm not real sure, but he had a small table in the corner over there for case conferences with about 4 chairs around it, and there's some other chairs you can pull up there if you have. It's not all that uncommon, especially like in foreclosure cases and things like that. We'll have 5, 6 attorneys in my office at once. It doubles as a conference room too. It's not just a place for me to sit. And he took that table with him, so there's no table in there other than my desk, which is stacked up with junk. So I did put in a request for, basically it's just a little coffee table, where if I have multiple attorneys in there at once, we can sit down over a case conference and they can have somewhere to set their stuff down. I priced one up here at Canet's right here in town, so shop local, you know, I know you'd appreciate that. I believe it's $429. You should have the paperwork. I think it was put in your mailbox there. I don't know if you have it in front of you or not. If I'm quoting the price right, I forgot to bring a copy with me. But I'd like approval to purchase that table out of courthouse equipment line item, I believe, is what I talked to Gertrude about it. Thought that made the most sense.
Well, you'll have to forgive us, Judge, because we don't have all the paperwork that we should have. We will address that, get that taken care of. You've already hammered us on the pay for the person. I think a couple beanbag chairs from Walmart would look just
Okay.
good.
I don't want those running. I can get a quote on it.
Frank, did you guys, was that brought to you guys this morning? I mean,
Yeah.
about that?
He mentioned it, but we
Didn't
didn't
you,
have it.
don't you have money in a fund there, the courthouse fund, to buy furniture or buy some equipment?
He mentioned it to us this morning, but he didn't give us a formal proposal as far as the price or anything like that.
I turned in an invoice at the auditor's office with the request on it. I don't know
You've expensed it.
Yeah, they should-
where that's at. Yeah, it's against the courthouse equipment line item. I think there was, somebody knows better than I think there was
429, you said?
429,
I don't remember the numbers. I don't remember the numbers.
but it had a table and 4 chairs?
No, the chairs are already up there. That was part of the good deal you got with
Oh,
Judge
okay.
Earl. He had the chairs. It's just a coffee table is really what it
Well,
is.
tonight just need
You
TV chairs.
guys should have some money in the fund there to buy it.
Judge will take care of it for you if you'll just remind me. And let me see if I can find the invoice and we'll bring it up in our next meeting. If that's okay.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Apologize, Judge, we don't have anything, so.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but that's fine.
We don't either.
We can, it's not a crisis. We can make do for another month or whatever it takes, so, okay. Very well, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Just remind me.
Sure.
I'm going to change the order of new business around a little bit because I feel the cemetery commission is going to take a little bit more time to go through their thing. So I'm going to have Anna come up first and then followed by Mr. Parker.
Good evening, my name is Anna Dungan, and tonight I'm representing the Indiana State Bicentennial, which will be celebrated in 2016. It's kind of a unique situation that our community is actually older than the state, and we celebrated our bicentennial a couple years ago, but the state is gearing up for its bicentennial, kicking off in December of 2015 this year and going all the way until next year. One of the signature events for the Indiana Bicentennial is the Torch Relay, which is a relay from every county, starting in Corydon, going through all 92 counties, starting in August of 2016 and wrapping up in September. The torch, the lit torch, will come through Fayette County on Saturday, September 24th. Lucky to have it on a Saturday. It will come from Rush County along 44 and exit into Union County. We will have the torch for 2 hours. Our report is Rushville will have it for lunch, and we will have it mid-afternoon. So we're thinking around 1 to 4, someplace in there. We'd like as many volunteers as we can to be part of this hand-to-hand relay. Runners, walkers, rollerblades, anybody that wants to be part of it. Originally, I had thought if it came from the north or the south, we could use the railroad, but coming west to east, I think we'll use other modes of transportation and have the in-between time here at the courthouse, since that is centrally located kind of in the middle of the community and also going along 44. So we'll have some kind of vehicle or runner or something to get it as close as we can to the city limits, have the torch go hand to hand, left to right, all the way to the courthouse, celebrate the torch here with some activities that the county can put together. I spoke with Donna Schroeder and Historic Connorsville. The reenactment at the cemetery and other things will be planned for that day, and then it'll travel on its way to Union County. The torch will come with state police escort. It's a big to-do, and I just wanted to let you know that this is one of the events that we know about now, so that you guys are aware of it and you can let other people know about it. If they'd like to be part of any of the Indiana Bicentennial 2016, especially the torch relay, they can get a hold of me at the Fayette County Foundation, 827-9966.
Any questions for Anna?
You say that's going to be August when the torch comes through Connersville?
September.
September?
Saturday, September 24th.
September
And
24th.
I don't need any money. It's not going to cost us anything.
We like that.
Yeah. It'll be a great time.
Are you going to take your turn running with the torch?
I'm thinking Bunker Hill, yeah.
Okay.
We'll leave the runners to maybe the outskirts, and I'm thinking more of like a human chain coming down 3rd Street and then going all the way out 5th Street of people. I really do want hundreds of people involved. A lot of the communities are having people nominated or going through an application process, and personally, I would probably never get nominated for something like that, so I'd rather have everybody involved if they wanted to and make it more fun, all ages, and anybody that wants to come home or be part of that, we can definitely make that available. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Parker?
gonna sign another paper?
No, no signature required, Mark.
Thank you.
This is my script, folks, so you can know where I'm at. Good evening. It's been a while since I've given a thorough update. I have 7 points here to go over. One is certainly the new EDG officers, being the new chairman, Craig Howe, the vice chair, Keith Barrows, and Melissa Matney as treasurer, and Richie Ware as the secretary. Thought you would like to know that. And stop me anytime if you have a question on anything. The second item is we've completed 2 of the 4 academies for work ready, for the ACT work ready community certification. The first academy was held in Atlanta. The second one was in New Orleans. There are 2 more academies to complete. The next one will be in Nashville in around mid-April, and then the final academy will be in Indianapolis. And you will recall this initiative helps Fayette County citizens prepare for better jobs through testing, remediation, and employer involvement. It helps Fayette County, the Fayette County workforce, close the skills gap. The third item that I'd like to report to you on is our progress in building our new EDG website, which is underway. And we're really excited about this. We feel that it'll give Fayette County greater exposure to state, national, international business opportunities. And then there's a project that kind of runs hand in hand with that, which is an initiative to create a new look and feel for EDG with a new design for our logo, slogan, and new marketing materials that will help us look a little more professional and a little more polished as we present the Fayette County story and opportunity with sales trips, private meetings with site selectors, group activities with finance companies, land management companies, and investment firms. The fifth item, we're nearly finished with the Economic Development Group's strategic plan that will help us set and accomplish important goals that will help all citizens in Fayette County throughout 2015. And then the last 2 items, 6 and 7, deal with some business opportunities that are going forward. As was mentioned by Mr. Jackson, a Chinese national has made an offer on the 48 property to start and continue his Chinese-based arts and crafts distribution business here in Fayette County, contingent upon receiving zoning approval. And we appreciate the commissioners granting the general business classification in this morning's commissioner meeting. The commissioner's action this morning will allow this transaction and business to move forward, which will in turn put the 48 on the tax rolls and provide jobs for Fayette County. Then the last item, number 7, a California-based company called Coldwater Mediation Group is establishing a call center in the vacant building across from City Hall, and they will employ 30 to 50 people, and the pay range will be from minimum wage up to $20 an hour, and they plan to be up and running in 3 or 4 weeks, if not sooner. They plan to do their hiring directly from the 505 Central Avenue location, and I've been talking with them. I've had many conversations with them already because they're right across the street from my office. Any questions from anybody regarding economic development or just whatever's on your mind?
I have some concerns about the
That's
48.
other patron concerns we can get to.
And I'm sorry, I'm new here, so maybe I don't like.
We can address that during patron concerns.
Sorry.
We can address that during patron concerns. That's the last item on here. We
Okay.
can't address it right now.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Tax abatements, I know there's a couple companies coming up for fulfilling their tax abatement. How is that process? Who watches that, over that? and makes sure it's done?
We have, Mark, we have a compliance system, and Diana Wright typically is the watchdog on that. There are timed intervals where she reports to the city council on at least, I know on the ones that involve the city, and it's a lengthy list right now, I think it's 7 or 8, to see where they're at in compliance with employees, capital investment, and all the elements that they said that they committed to get the abatement or to get the incentive. So we do watch it.
Yeah.
All of them.
At one point in time, I think that became a part, the report was shared with the council at one point in
Yeah.
time. Is that something that you could,
Certainly, I can easily do that.
the annual update?
Yes, it's all public information, and I can certainly bring it to a meeting and report on it.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Parker? Thank you.
Thank you, Fayette County Council, for your support of economic development. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
No, we saved the best for last.
Get the prosecutor out of here.
Yeah. Prosecutor has,
Do you want to get rid of the prosecutor?
Well, I just think it isn't going to take long.
That was a nice way to put it.
Just trying to get brownie points, I guess.
Hey, whatever.
Thank you.
I think we forgot.
Yeah, there's a couple things not on the agenda. I noticed in here, I was looking at the paper.
I thought I was
She's
on
on
it
there.
somewhere. Checked it this morning. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, we didn't get that yet.
Well, I can sit back down.
Nope, you're fine.
Okay.
You're up now.
I was holding that chair down pretty well there. I have presented to you 2 additional appropriation requests, and I'd like to withdraw one. The one asking for $4,000, I'm no longer being requested to fund that through my office, so I'll just withdraw that. The other one for $500, this forfeiture fund that has been created is the product of a process that was started about 1.5 years ago. We started taking a serious look at the idea of not only prosecuting people for dealing in drugs in our community, but also expanding that to take property that is allowed to be taken under Indiana's forfeiture laws as an additional penalty, and also as a way to fund our continuing fight against illegal drugs in our community. We've been fairly successful at that for a small town, I believe. Let's face it, we don't pull over a lot of paid-off Ferraris carrying drugs in Connersville. But we do go after those assets that we can. They've included a settlement with an individual for what I believed and what our attorney who we hired to handle those forfeitures believed was a good settlement given the market. We could have taken the property with all of its maintenance problems and upkeep possibility that things were not going to be good when we got into it, and also then have to sell it, pay someone to sell it, take what the market offered. Instead, we took just a little bit less than the equity in the property over the mortgage, and that went into this fund. It was $87.50 to begin with. We have deposited more into this fund from proceeds of a civil forfeiture action for money taken off of a person who found themselves arrested for dealing in drugs. That amount of that fund is actually a little more than it was when this was first drawn up. We've deposited $1,100 more into that. I am now receiving quite a few cases from the local task force. I'm very thankful for their efforts, and it's the efforts of those men and women in our police forces
that have brought this money to us. This is not tax money. This is money we are taking from people who are committing the crimes. Usually they're dealing, but it can be other, we will seize things for other matters too. But this is one that goes into this fund. It's a non-reverting fund. I know one county managed to stumble onto 100,000 or more once, and you wouldn't want to have to spend that all in a year. So I have to appropriate out of it, the way I understand it, to pay for certain things. The task force is running short by money. So I am here with a bit of a smile for the opportunity to get to ask you for $500 to give them to buy more drugs. Because that's how we do it.
You're gonna go to jail for this, aren't you?
I know, that's how we do it in controlled buys. This is the money that would be given to confidential informants to purchase drugs, which are then turned over to the police officer who's handling them, the handler for this confidential informant. And I do seek that money back as restitution, but I don't always get it. They are running low because they are working long hours over there. And this may just be the beginning, but I committed to ask you all to appropriate $500 of that to give to the task force for that purpose.
I like that motion.
Betty, what is with some of the rules of the money that could be spent on? Is it spent on just,
It can only be spent on law enforcement needs. It can be spent on fighting crime. It can be spent on equipment. And we're going to be looking at some of that too. This money came from a controlled drug buy, the 8750. So it's my thought that while I get to be the one to come and ask you where to spend the money, that we ought to put it back, unless there's some circumstance that comes up that we just have a terrible need for something, that we ought to put it back in the fight. And so that's why, this is just the beginning of it, but I could see the possibility of coming to you at a later time to ask for more recording equipment or something that assists them in it, but it can't pay, I can't use it in my office for anything.
so the prosecutor is the one that controls this fund, basically, right?
It goes, with your
Not
permission.
the task force doesn't control.
Right. There are a couple different ways that it can be set up, but the prosecutor is the one that brings the cases. The prosecutor is the center, the common factor in state police, county, it could even be DNR, city. So it seems that instead of creating all those different funds, that the law allows this possibility, and to me it seems like the right way to do it. And I spoke with the detectives that work on these cases. We talked about how to do it, how to set it up, and this is what we all agreed to. But I can't spend it on anything else. I couldn't come in here and say I need a new copier. Let's take it out of here. That's not allowed.
We have a motion to approve and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Who seconded it? Mark, I think Mark seconded it, and Jim made a motion.
If I can have just another few moments of your time, I'm going to have, I guess, another appropriation I'm going to need to come back for, but I want to go ahead and give you some information for it. It's the same fund. This is the judgment that gave us the additional money that's been put in since I made the advertisement, requested that this be advertised for tonight. And out of this $1,100, I owe our civil forfeiture attorney $330. So we'll keep $770, and he'll take $330 for his time in trouble. Which is similar to what happened. The $87.50 was our 70% of that settlement. That was handled through the civil case, and so it was paid by the defendant in that civil case, and they paid directly the attorney fees. I think they actually paid it to the attorney's trust account, and the attorney then sent us a check, and we put it in this fund. This $1,100 was cash money. I deposited it all into this account with the auditor a day or two after we did the paperwork for tonight's appropriation. So I suppose I'll need to come back at the next meeting and ask you all to do what needs to be done so that we can send a check to Mr. Garrison for his services.
Betty, you have a couple more cars you're going after, aren't you?
We have a few things in the works
I
from
know.
time to time.
I think
We have-
one of them came off my lot one night.
I think so. We have some, we try to look at, I think we just got another default judgment within the last week or so
Good.
that includes some cash money as well. So I'll be hopefully able to keep that fund alive and going and help support those men and women who are out there fighting long hours and probably out there right now trying to get more drugs off the streets.
They're doing a good job.
I think so. I tell them that all the time.
I go past the post a couple times a day, there's a lot of cars out there. so
They
that's
keep me busy.
Good.
Calls in the middle of the night, questions on search warrants. They're certainly making me earn my money.
That's good.
That's why we pay that high money for.
That's right. That's right. We'll stay at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Cemetery Commission, you've been very more than patient.
If you'll bear with me, I'm always nervous and I usually read. So if you don't mind, I will read this to you and take as little time as I can. Good evening, council members. We come to you this evening to share with you where we stand as a group concerning the care of our pioneer cemeteries. Mid-December, we placed a copy of our 2014 report in each of your mailboxes, and we hope you all took the time to look them over and see what we have accomplished. Did any of you get a chance to look at those? From the list of 84 cemeteries that we have, and they're depicted on the map you see back there, 20 cemeteries are contracted for mowing April through October, plus the contractor has 2 cemeteries that are to be mowed once in the spring and once in the fall. 15 cemeteries are cared for by the property owners or associations. 7 cemeteries either have no stones or have yet to be found. There are several cemeteries also that have been lost due to time. 37 cemeteries are cemetery commission responsibility, 3 of which have volunteers caring for them, and 12 of these were mowed regularly in 2014. Several are being worked on as time permits, and others only need to be checked on periodically. There's about 5 or 6 very small cemeteries we've not gotten to yet, but with our new board members, we hope to get to those soon. When we started this 2 years ago, we had no records to go by and had to start from scratch getting the information we needed to take care of these cemeteries. In 2014, we finished preserving Wiley Chapel Cemetery, which we started in 2013. We completely preserved Myers Brumfield Cemetery in 2014. This is in addition to the 12 cemeteries we mowed on a regular basis. Upon completion, we'd constructed and installed flagpoles in these 2 cemeteries. In addition, we constructed and installed a flagpole in Hanson Crandall Cemetery with the help of Kyle and Kevin Chaplow, who have volunteered for its care and upkeep for the past 2 summers. New signs were put in at 5 cemeteries. Dave Nichols and myself attended 2 different preservation classes with Jonathan Appel this year, one in Louisville, Kentucky, and the other in Richmond, Indiana. Member Dave Caldwell and a faithful volunteer, Marcia Boggs, also attended 1 day of instruction with Jonathan Appel in Richmond as well. Dave Caldwell completed an IDNR class, bringing our total to 3 board members who are certified for probing permits. We have received quality instruction and knowledge from these workshops, and no county funds were used. Fees for these workshops were paid for by the individuals. Our plans for 2015 are to continue to clean out the remaining cemeteries on our list. In addition, our focus will be working in Hanson Crandall, Lockhart, and Mount Zion cemeteries. We are currently working on getting permission to access a couple of cemeteries that are in need of attention but are on private property. Beaver Cemetery is on private property, and the landowners want to learn how to care for it so they can take it over themselves. At the Commissioners' meeting on February 17th, we requested $2,000 for supplies and $2,000 for mileage for our board members. This is a total of $1,000 less than we requested for 2014. Unfortunately, we were informed that there were no funds available for the Cemetery Commission to care for the pioneer cemeteries that are not under the mowing contract this year. We realize that some of you are not in favor of paying us mileage because we are volunteers. However, I have examples of other cemetery commissions and volunteer organizations that do pay their volunteers mileage. Ours is in a unique situation, and we do log a lot of miles. Dave and myself logged over 3,200 miles in 2014, and we did not count the mileage when we used 2 vehicles. We only requested 30 cents a mile to reimburse our board members just to cover gasoline. The commissioners did grant us permission to solicit supplies from local companies and to have fundraisers so we can purchase what we need to operate this year. We would appreciate any help from you on obtaining funds to fulfill our duties. We would also welcome donations, and interested parties can contact us for a list of supplies that are needed. Keep in mind that we do not have room to store much equipment or supplies. Monetary donations can be made to the Cemetery Donation Fund at the Auditor's Office. In that fund, there is currently $404. We have worked hard to get these small cemeteries back in shape and would hate to see them going back to being neglected due to the lack of funds. We will be working on a budget for our board to present to your budget committee in the spring in hopes that this situation can be avoided for next year. We realize that the tax base is shrinking, but something needs to be done to preserve this history in our pioneer cemeteries. We will be hosting a one-day workshop to be presented in May by Mark Morton, owner of the Gravestone Guardians from Ohio. The commissioners gave us permission for our local VFW to conduct a fundraiser to raise the money to have him come and teach our new board members and volunteers at Mount Zion Cemetery. This way, not only will we be getting our valuable training, but we will also be getting work done in our bigger pioneer cemetery. We will also offer the class to others who are interested for a fee to be determined to help with expenses. The VFW will purchase and donate supplies with any extra money raised. Dave Caldwell is currently exploring our other options with Anna Dungan at the Fayette County Foundation to set up a fund and explore grant options. We value your suggestions and advice, and just if you have any questions, I'm ready to address them. In the packet David gave you, on the left-hand side, we have a copy of the map. There's a copy of the cemeteries as we had them split up in 2014, and then how we have them split up for 2015. Behind that, I think, is the flyer on the workshop from Mark Morton. On the right-hand side, you have a copy of what I just spoke. We have a copy of what is in the fund at this point for the cemeteries. And behind that, there is a list of the different mileage things that we have found with other cemetery commissions and such that they do pay their volunteers.
Is there any questions?
I don't know whether this question is for you or not, or maybe for the commissioners, but we collect a tax for the cemetery, which is, does it show here, looks like 46,000, is that right? What we collect in tax for the cemeteries?
What we had, okay, what we had at the beginning of the year, I had Kathy to run me a sheet was 26,000, which is
26,000
which is
receipts.
10,000, yes, which is 10,000 less than last year. Our mowing contract, I can never remember, but it's somewhere between 22 and 25,000. Okay, and what she's doing, I met with her and her husband Monday, week till Monday, and what I suggested is that the Cemetery Commission is very passionate about what they do, and there's a few of them and a lot to do for a lot of these pioneer cemeteries where patriots and everybody else is buried. So what I suggested that they do is that they approach you at budget time to request additional monies if you're favorable with that. If the monies are there, okay. to kind of augment what isn't there now. Okay? I thought that that would be the appropriate venue and appropriate body to go through. And I suggested they make a small presentation, maybe some pictures of what they've done before, after, etc. There's a lot yet still to be done, a lot that I don't even know about. But that's why she's here tonight, at my suggestion, to kind of let you know what the situation was.
But their 2015 budget they should have money coming in. You should have money coming in from the cemetery, tax for the cemetery, which, I don't know, if I remember, you're saying $1,000 or something like that you guys need, or you need 1,000 for mileage. Now that should be in there, shouldn't it, Frank? Basically, we collect enough tax, unless you guys, I don't know what you're paying out in mowing, contractual.
Just what I told you is between,
What, 26,000, what you're paying out?
It's actually 24.3.
24.3.
And you're getting 29.
So what little dab you're asking for should be in that cemetery tax
Well,
collection.
there's more than just that. There's more than just the mileage. There's other operating expenses too.
Yeah, but I mean, there should be enough money in there for
Well, if he's
them.
getting 29,000 in there, mowing fee's 24,
26.
26, there's not enough there.
Last year, according to what Kathy ran me, last year there was 36. This year, what was budgeted was 26. Okay. Now,
So-
I'll keep an eye on that. Okay. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Because we budget all that tax that's collected through the cemetery budget. Right?
They have their own levy.
Yep, they got their own levy there.
But would the amount taken in by the levy be less this year than last year? Is that possible?
It is possible. I don't have a 1782 with me, Frank, to tell you what the 2015 levy is. But from that, I could calculate what we could expect to generate. You know, we'll get our June draw and our December draw. And correct me if I'm wrong, is the mowing contract up for renewal mid-year this year?
I can't find the contract. They said another year ago. am I
This
correct?
should be the last year, so
This
it'd
should
be
be the
like
last year, so.
August.
So August will be the last of it, so we'll probably start getting bids for it maybe next month or so for the 2016 et cetera.
Okay. I talked to Cindy and her husband too, along with you. And if we could tweak the mowing contract, juggle the mowing contract against their needs a little bit better next time around, maybe we can meet everyone's needs here. That's my hope.
I think you could. I think you approached, we got a lot of good landscaping outfits in town here. I work with them through Babe Ruth, and they're willing to do some things pro bono. And I think you might be surprised if you ask what they may or may not do. And it's kind of spread the wealth a little bit rather than just one company. I'm not saying to do everything for free. I'm not saying that. I'm saying a little bit. They may, it doesn't hurt to ask. And maybe have 4 landscaping services so that one's not. How many cemeteries is the one taking care of? 20 something?
20 plus 2.
Okay. 22?
Well, 2 is twice, it's supposed to be spring and fall, but it didn't
Okay.
happen last year.
There are actually, correct me if I'm wrong, 109.
There's over 109, but like some of them are lost, like the
Some of
one
them are lost
for
where-
the,
They know it's a cemetery, but there are no existing
Yeah.
headstones or anything to indicate where a body lies or who's lying there.
we've got
May
about
I make some
85.
suggestions to you to raise some money? You guys do a lot. I know you're very passionate about what you do. You guys do a great job. You thought about a boot drive? Have you thought? I think you've also got a very good thing that you're wearing right there. That you could sell those. If you went to the cookie, the chili cook-off thing, and you went to like St. Gabriel's, and you went to some of these things, and you set up a little booth, and you told your story about what you do, that you'd get more people passionate about it, you get more help, you get more support, and you get more donations than maybe what you're trying to do. Because I think the design you got in your shirt is a good design. And if you offered it maybe some other colors or whatever, and just sometimes you gotta spend a little money to make a little money. But I think that you've got something there, and you, as passionate as you are, that passion will come through, and people will donate to you.
Well, the VFW, when they do their fundraiser, they're going to involve the newspaper and have, booths set up there, and so we can explain things and that type of thing. So we're planning on really hitting the advertisement at that time. We just need a little guidance on what we can do, and like if we buy T-shirts, we'll have to get approval to buy T-shirts, and then it all has to follow the flow.
Cindy, how much of the money, of the cemetery money, did you use last year, any from the commission?
Last year, we requested 5,000 total, and we used probably all but about 1,000 of that. So we turned, we didn't use
So
all of it.
you got some of that tax money
Yeah.
to use for your group?
They have purchased, I don't know if it was last year, year before last quarter, you bought some tools.
Yeah, the first year we got the majority of what we needed. The second year was more just supplies. This year it's more just supplies.
We are working with them, okay? Again, I can only tell you what I was told, so we'll continue working on ways to provide them with what we can.
Is there any other questions? We're just trying to start with raising awareness, and we thought this would be a good place to start, and hopefully it'll pay off for us.
We're a small part. I would really start off by some of what I suggested, as some of these things, these community events that are put on to make yourself visible, even at the fair or whatever. Get yourself visible and get out there in front of the public and tell them what you're doing, because I think you got a great story to tell. I think you got a lot of passion. You're definitely committed to it, and I think that will shine through to other people in the community. You'll find more help. You'll find more people that are willing to support you if they know about it. So I think that's one of the avenues to approach.
Thank you.
Cindy, maybe your group should put in a bid for mowing the cemeteries.
I want to have time to do something.
Could you look at that and project your income and let me know what your bid is?
Sure, yeah.
And I'll pass that on to you.
So would that be something we would have to come back to you then?
Well, we'll see if there's any money.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It would come back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. A couple items that were not on the agenda. There's a resolution here, number 15-R-3, and it's basically it does with talks that we have to do this, I believe, every year. We have to transfer funds from one budget line to another in order to cover operating expenses. I don't know if everyone of you have a copy of this resolution or not. You do? Okay. It says it has been determined that there are not sufficient funds in the county general fund to meet expenses, whereas Indiana Code 36-1-8-4A allows the fiscal body by resolution to permit the transfer of prescribed amount for a prescribed period to a fund in need of money for cash flow purposes from another fund. And whereas a temporary loan of $650,000 is needed for expenses now therefore. The Fayette County Council hereby authorizes the auditor to make a temporary loan of $650,000 from the following two funds as indicated below. $325,000 from the Cume Bridge Fund and $325,000 from the Cume Cap Development. The county general to be paid back by December 31st, 2015. I don't know if you want to speak to that, Frank, or just what we talked about, which was you talked to Warren about the Cume Bridge Fund.
When I
He thought it was fine.
I talked to Councilman Strong, and I did call the surveyor, because money coming out of his funds, and asked him if he felt his existing projects and expenditures could withstand that withdrawal, and he said yes.
And this isn't something unusual. This is something we've had to do in the past, just till we get to the next tax draw.
So would we pay half in June, back in June, we get
get that half drawn and the rest in December?
We did that last year, Mark. We don't particularly have to.
We don't have to, but does it make sense to do that though? Instead of getting stuck at the end of the year, all of a sudden we got a $650,000 bill.
Well,
You're stuck either way.
now, this whole thing started a couple of years ago when the State Board of Accounts, for some strange reason, issued a new rule or edict that we had to account separately for our COIT distributive shares, which at the time amounted to about $1.2 million a year. Up until that time, COIT was just carried in our general fund balance, like many other monies that come in. So the first year that we had to separate our COIT funds from the general fund created a cash flow problem. And that's why last year we had to borrow, at this time we had to borrow $600,000 because the general fund was out of cash. So if you took today's balance of COIT and added that to our now negative balance of general fund, we wouldn't need to borrow this money. We could just go on and live life normally. But they don't want us to do that for some reason. So last week, Frank and the auditor called, and I had looked at some numbers and comparing this time last year to now, we're about, in the general fund, we're about $54,000 worse off than we were a year ago in county general expenses. And there's a lot of factors go into that. But we've been hit really hard so far this year on 17Ts, which we will recover from at the end of the year in settlement. But nevertheless, the county has to put that money up front. So last Thursday, while the payroll clerk was doing payroll, the general fund ran out of cash. So the auditor has suspended payment of any further claims until the general fund cash balance can be replenished, and this is the only way we can do that. And it was on my suggestion that we not hit Cume Bridge so hard as we did last year. So that's the reason it split up, half from Cume Bridge and half from Cume Cap. And Frank assures me that the commissioners are going to be able to survive with the projects they have on their plate. And the surveyor, as Frank alluded to, has said that this will not prevent him from going ahead with the projects that he has on the board currently. So if either the commissioners or the surveyor, after we get our June draw, see an immediate need for, if something comes up that unexpected and they see an immediate need for any of this money back, we can certainly give it back after that without any problem.
So this was what we did tonight, the Cume capital development. That would take it down, by doing this, would take it down to about 50,000. Because we were at 375 after we moved that 20, so our balance in was 375. But we'll be adding to that a little bit in June.
Yeah, well, Cume Cap replenishes itself at the rate of $140,000 a year.
Right. So that's what I mean. In June we'll replenish some.
Yeah.
So
To tell you the truth, I don't know what I should know, but I don't know what the current balance is in Cume.
well, right here, which we just did, it was 395. We took 20. That took us down to 375. So with
Okay.
this, that would take us down to 50,000.
Yeah.
Does that account for the garage payment?
The garage
Yes,
payment
the
was...
garage is out of there, already
Okay.
checked.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
I will say that, that's all,
Yeah.
what we still got to do yet.
yeah.
Yeah, that was set aside last year.
Yes.
So unless someone else has a better idea, we could borrow the money off of Councilman Wolf and Councilman Seidel. We could just leave it where it's at.
I think one of the questions was if, when we're gonna pay it back, part of it. Can't we pay back this next draw, put it back in Cume Cap? I mean, Cume Cap, we went from, what, $1 million down to 50,000 in 1 year?
Yeah.
The way we're spending it? So
Well,
I just think Mr. Flum is right. I think we need to pay it back as soon as we possibly can on at least one of them. The bridge probably got quite a bit of money in it, I expect.
I don't, what have they got total, do we know? After we take this out, do we know how much is left in
They
the
probably
bridge?
got quite a bit.
If I remember right, I think the current bridge fund balance is a little over 816,000. But he's got some pretty expensive projects on the board this year too. So, you know, if, like I said, if the commissioners or the surveyor, either one, see an immediate need, after we get our June draw, sure, there's no reason why we can't give some of this money back. But it all has to be paid back by the end of the year. This is basically just the same thing we did last year.
Dale, just run it quick. If we took and paid half of it back in June, half to the bridge and then half to the Cume Cap, that would be roughly 150,000 each with the 50 we got in here, plus the 70 which would be half 140. So then in June, we should be back up to 270. So
Yeah.
that's where we should be if we do that.
Well, I'm relying strictly on the advice of when it comes to what their needs are, I'm relying on the advice of the commissioners and the surveyor.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, these, we don't know what's coming down the road, so we just have to deal with them when they come down the road. So,
Yeah. So, you know, one way or the other, there's no way getting around this, Mark. We got to borrow the money from somewhere, and these are the two funds that have the healthiest balances. And right now, we've suspended paying claims, and we don't want to.
if our healthiest balance is $50,000 balance, we're in not very good shape
Yeah.
at all.
Well, things could be better, and things could be worse.
They could be worse, yeah, they could be worse, yeah. That's true.
Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I move to approve the temporary loan.
Is there a second?
I'll second motion to approve resolution number 15-R-3.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have plenty. Move to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay. There was a memo that was supposed to be in your mailbox. I don't think made it there. So I'll read it to you. This came from Gertrude. It deals with a budget training workshop on May 12th at 6 p.m. here. And it's the following. The Department of Local Government Finance, DLGF, is holding a mandatory budget training workshop for all members of council on Tuesday, May 12th, 2015 at 6 p.m. at a closed session in the Fayette County Courthouse Commissioners Meeting Room. DLGF Commissioner Courtney Shafsma will attend along with her budget instructor. Commissioner Shafsma is giving special consideration to Fayette County by hosting this training, which is outside DLGF's regionally scheduled session. So just more information to let you know that you need to set aside some time on May 12th at 6 p.m. to be here for the mandatory training. And then the last item, I was contacted by one of the county residents, well, county employees, about the part-time pay raise that we approved at the last meeting, regularly scheduled meeting for all part-time people. And I believe it was at the rate of 36 cents an hour based upon the 28-hour work week for them. And I was informed that that was not taken care of at this point. The back pay was not addressed, so I'm asking the auditor to please check into that and get that rectified as soon as possible. Nothing really needs to be done, but I just want it to be noted. With that, Mr. Johnson, the floor is yours.
Approve that list? Thank you. We approved that. We approved it?
My name is Lou Johnson, and I'm a little concerned about the Chinese deal going on out there with the 48. And some of you may have read the letter to the editor in last Friday's paper that I put in there. And the thing that concerns me is I get thinking about that and how many containers is going to be brought into that property out there. And because those containers takes up a lot of space, they also can get pretty noisy, and also you never know for sure what's going to be in them. The people who live close by there, I've talked to a couple of them, and they're not very happy with the thought of any of these containers coming in there. And I've been told that, you know, that there's going to be basically soft type items that's come in at the beginning. And I think about as to the time these containers are shipped from China over here, and then they're brought in on a truck from either the East Coast or the Gulf of Mexico, shipped in. There's a pretty good chunk of money in one of these 40-foot containers that's brought in. And with that, and someone had mentioned to me that there was only going to be 1 or 2 containers at a time in there. Well, it still concerned me about the covering of their expenses. So we're buying the property, operating, hiring employees, paying maintenance, paying everything to have, and how they can do it on what there's, as I understand, how little they're going to have to begin with. And those containers, if they start bringing in more, and they start bringing in heavy ones out there, are the roads, county roads out there, going to handle 50, 60, 70,000 pound loads come through there? That road is from there out to Highway 1. It's pretty narrow in the spots, and especially out there by the railroad and different places there. And I can't see where the tax dollars that you'll get from that will cover the maintenance on these roads, possibly on there. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think you all do. And I don't know if you're aware of, I don't know what kind of rules, regulations that there is for what can be put out there. And but I've had some experience with some of this in the past. I had a customer that was into the container business, and they was at down by the ship channel in Houston, Texas. I lived there for 30 years, and they were a customer of mine for 15 years. And I saw stuff that came in from those containers, and they were stacking some of those things anywhere from 4 to 6 high. And if they knock them over, there's a lot of noise there. Or this houses that's going to be close by. And if they start stacking containers along that road and knock them over, it go right over top of the fence and go out into the road. And with the river that being there, with the possibility of spilled stuff from a container and the pollution and so forth in there, are we going to run into a problem somewhere along the line that the EPA is going to step in? I don't know all these answers. I'm just bringing things up that I have seen from a customer that I had in the past on there. So this is a decision that you all, assuming that you have got most of the answers for all this.
Actually, we don't have anything to do with that.
We don't have.
You don't have anything to do
We
with
have nothing
that?
to do with that.
So I came to the wrong place.
Came to the wrong place, and I think the decision's already been made this morning.
I heard that, and that's why when I,
Yeah,
and that's
we
great.
deal strictly with county finances and
Okay.
the distribution of those funds, and we have nothing to do with what you're talking about.
Okay. Mike, I'm sorry I take up your
No,
time. I
you're fine.
appreciate
You're
it.
fine. It's always good to hear from the public. And
And, but it scares me a lot That's what's going on out there.
So I'm not real sure.
And I know it does the residents out there. It concerns me that there hasn't been enough looking into it. Okay, sorry, folks. Thank you very much.
Usually open next Thursday.
Is there any
for sure.
other patron concerns?
Thursday for sure.
Maybe we adjourn. I'll have to see.
Why?
I'll have to see.
We got plenty of time left.
Call me tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll still move
We
we
have to
adjourn.
post it. We have to advertise it.
Oh, did you?
Is there something that we need to,
Maybe there's
share down there? Is there another meeting going on?
Another meeting going on here.
Okay.
Do what?
Accept, yeah, exactly. Accept the motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh, I can't make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Who made the motion?
I made the motion.
Okay.
Who's on first?
Councilman Strong made the motion. The second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Adjourned.
He was in the wrong meeting.